It was ironic that on Thursday the 21st of July, as London was being bombed for the second time in 2 weeks by Islamic terrorists, Nick Griffin, chairman of the British National Party, was in Leeds Crown Court, charged for warning that Islamic terrorists would blow up the tube trains and buses in London. British National Party supporters turned up en masse to show solidarity with a man whose only crime is to tell the truth. The supporters had travelled from all over the United Kingdom, with some having to set off travelling on the journey at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like Nick Griffin, the supporters remain resolute in wanting the truth to come out. Even though a small group of left-wing troublemakers arrived, they failed miserably to antagonise the British National Party supporters and nearly ended up getting arrested themselves. Mr. Griffin emerged from the Crown Court in high spirits and vowed to carry on telling the truth.
Say what he likes in Britain, but members of the British Army and members of the British National Party are dragged through the courts. This case has already claimed the life of my co-defendant, John Tyndall, a man of 71, hounded to death by the Crown Prosecution Service, the police and the BBC. That's absolute outrage. We're told that the case will be going ahead late next year, early next. We still don't know until tomorrow, so we'll have to see what's going to happen there. But as I say, Bakri can say what he likes. We're the ones who are in court under a law which says that telling the truth is a crime, and it's a bad law which we're going to defy and oppose.
How are you going to defy it, Griffin?
We're going to have nearly 3 weeks in court when we're going to play to the jury the tapes of what I said. The Crown Prosecution Service just a few weeks ago was saying that I was wrong when I warned that sooner or later terrorist bombs would go off in Britain, that if they did it would turn out that they were planted either by asylum seekers or, quote, second generation Pakistanis from somewhere like Bradford, unquote. I was 8.5 miles out. I plead guilty to that anyway. But I went on to say that when those bombs went off, they would probably be in London, they would probably hit the tube and the buses, and for that the Crown Prosecution Service say I should be in prison. I say all I said was I told the truth, and we're going to run that past the jury, and I think that we'll be found not guilty by a British jury.
Nick.
Can you get
off my camera?
I want to say one other thing, and that is that about 10 days ago I challenged Iqbal Sakrani, the head of the Muslim Council of Britain, to just explain to us what the verses in the so-called peaceful Quran mean. Verses such as Surah 9 Ayat 123, fight those of the unbelievers who live near to you and show them how harsh you can be. Mr. Sakrani, if this is a peaceful Quran, what do verses like that really mean? You've been asked, please tell us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Griffin later gave an interview with BNP TV to discuss the hearing and the developing security situation happening in our country. Derek Dawson, BNP TV, Leeds. Can you tell me, Nick, what happened today in court?
Yep, we were in there for about an hour. Our main barristers and the prosecution, the main junior barrister, were there. Quite a lot of procedural waffle, to be honest. But at the end of it, it comes down to this, that almost certainly in October we've got a 2 or 3 day hearing where we'll be looking at the legal arguments, and we've got 1 or 2 particularly strong, I think, legal arguments whereby this case could quite possibly be thrown out there and then. I think after the events of today, let alone the 7th of the 7th, that if the Crown Prosecution Service have got any sense at all, they will want this case just gone. But Perhaps they haven't got any sense. It's New Labour after all. So that'll be in probably October. We're waiting then, if that does confirm the case must go ahead, we're waiting to find out whether the case will be the end of this year or the beginning of next. It couldn't be decided today because we got 3 different barristers, all of whom are available at different times, and obviously what's going to happen now is they're submitting to the judge when they're available. He's then going to make a decision when the case should be. 2 out of the 3 are saying they can't make it until January, so it may not even be until then, or it may be the tail end of this year, but we'll find out tomorrow afternoon.
What do you think of your support and what the press had to say today, Nick?
It's tremendous support from people from the BNP, overwhelmingly from the north of England today. We asked people from the Midlands and the south not to come because they need to keep their powder dry for the really big court case. Despite that, some people did come from the Midlands, which myself and Mark are very grateful for. But we had about 100 people out there today. Great looking show, really, really good. As for the press, when we came out, I spoke to them only briefly. I don't think that they'd show what I had to say, but in sort of summed up, what it is this: that this case has already cost the life of one person, my co-defendant John Tyndall. Although John Tyndall and I had arguments and disagreements and so on, quite bitter in the last couple of years, unfortunately, nevertheless he was a man who spoke the truth and what he saw of the truth, and for that, at the age of 71, he was hounded to death by the BBC, the Crown Prosecution Service and the police, and that was a wicked, wicked disgrace. I talked about that, then I went on to say that Sheikh al-Bakri and people like him can preach hatred of Britain and the British government do nothing at all about it, but British soldiers who are serving this country and members of the British National Party who are telling the truth get hauled before the courts under a law which says the truth is no defence in our case, and that is very, very wrong indeed.
Have you heard anything about what's going on in London at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment, and it's late lunchtime, we've heard that there have been several bombings, probably nail bombings on the tube, possibly one shooting, one incident on a bus. Clearly there's mayhem down in London. We have to hope that given the time, the trains and buses won't have been so crowded, so it appears that casualties will be far, far lower, which is a blessing. But what this does show is that the attacks of 7/7 weren't done by a tiny handful of isolated extremists. There's far, far more people involved in this war against Britain and the British people. I think this is going to show very, very clearly now that there is only one possible way to stop this clash of civilizations occurring right on our own doorsteps, and that is, there's nothing for it now but complete disengagement between the Middle East and the Islamic world and Britain. We've got to pull every last one of our troops out of the Middle East as quickly as we can, and anyone in this country who puts Islam before this country, who believes that the teachings in their book which say that fighting and attacking the unbelievers isn't just something you can do, but it's actually something you should do, anyone who holds by that kind of hatred of us must leave our land.
Thank you very much.